Good afternoon. This is Ken Long from Tortoise Capital Management. It's June 26, 2013. I want to do a quick case study here on the ideas behind core and turbo. So on the 25th of June, we had pretty much a sideways market. This is TNA, Triple Russell 2000 ETF, and on 3-minute charts, marked up in the usual way. And it was pretty much sideways quiet all day. There was one trade in here about 1:30 where I had bought this dip and was trying for something in here, and it turned out to be not much or a scratch. And then at about 2:30 or 2:35, I bought a core and turbo position here on breakout from sideways quiet channel. And it was starting to work. This was really about the only thing that worked yesterday. And then heading into the close, this is the close about 3:30, about 3 o'clock Central Time. Upon price re-entering the river, I exited in the usual way, the turbo position. I decided to hold the core position overnight because this was the first day of momentum after 3 or 4 days of strong sell-off. And it looked to me like maybe there was people accumulating inventory in order to sell the next day, so I was playing for a big gap up. We actually got that large gap up from close at 45.10, and it opened around 46.30. Had a couple 6 minutes worth of maintenance, then started selling off. And at this point, I have a trade framed here where I'm stalking the core exit here. So if it gets to 46.05, I'm going to exit. But if it takes out the intraday ribbon, swing high ribbon here at about 46.35, then I would go ahead and put the turbo position back on. So I've got about 4 times as much size during the day as I do overnight, just because of the difference in volatility between intraday movements and the overnight volatility. That's a pretty good example of why. So I've got the core that I'm holding, and then the turbo that I'm ready to put back on if things look favorable. And so at this point, I'm exactly on the balancing on a knife edge. I'm either going to sell here at 46.05 and get flat, or I'm going to add the turbo back on at 46.35. And in fact, if it takes me out at 46.05 and then immediately reverses and goes north and goes through 46.35, I'm going to be back on with core and turbo anyway. So just a couple things to notice. We call those the dragon horns. That's when you got a couple tails on the upside that are not accompanied by the ribbon. It looks to us like a little dragon. The price at 46.05, why is that important? Well, that represents about a 1/3 retracement back towards the to closing of the gap. I sort of expect that's going to happen, and so I'm willing to give it a little bit of room, but not so much that I give back too much of this windfall profit. And so 46.05 worked out to be about a 2-to-1 reward to risk ratio. So I'm willing to give the market that much room. In order to, but no further, in order to offset a potential closing of the gap. Well, what ended up happening today was it went shortly thereafter, it went through 46.05 and actually came all the way back to the previous day's close. Just what this looked like in the chat room from the previous day during this period of time in here, somebody had asked me at about, this is about 2:10 Eastern, 3:10 Eastern, 2:10 Central. Said, hey, did I re-enter at 44.81? Yes, I re-entered at 44.81. And this was the trade frame on 3 minutes. Zoomed in a little bit further here, and you can see my last trade had been in here. Bought this dip. That dip is this dip, and cashed in here for a scratch. And then bought it on the exit again at 44.81. And we had just noted that it had been a grinding day all day, that the financials were actually in the best shape, And as we started to see this moving out, it occurred to me maybe we get a last hour rush, and so I'm prepared for that. And that would turn this day, the 25th, into a failure to fail further day. In other words, it put a bottom in and actually close strongly. And then my estimate at 3:30 was that we would continue to see buying pressure into the close so that people who were buying could sell their inventory to day two momentum buyers. At the same time, I was trading this nice move up here in TNA. I also had a couple, had some positions on XIV, the inverse volatility as well. So that's what that trade looked like with Core and Turbo. Buy Core and Turbo here with the intent of holding it overnight if it closes well like it did, but then selling the intraday Turbo position in order to offset the increased risk of overnight volatility, and then in the morning being prepared to respond in a risk managed way. So that's the quick look at Core and Turbo on the 26th of June 2013. Keep your risk measured and your powder dry, and we'll see you in the chat room.